Hey everyone, Kyle here. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain a little bit. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so much more. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm. They'll have everything you need all in one place. I can speak from my experience. It's been awesome so far and super easy. So go check it out, guys, and we'll see you later. Hey everyone, this is Our Travel Experiences. I'm your host, Kyle Rasmussen, and welcome to episode 15. I'm super excited. I can't believe we're at episode 15 now. It feels like yesterday I was recording episode 10 and episode 1 for that matter. So I'm super excited to share another one of my experiences today. Since, as I mentioned before, every 5th episode I'm trying to do just one of my own episodes by myself. So this time I thought it would be great since it's about a week after I got back from Colombia that I'm recording this. So I thought it'd be great to talk about how my time in Colombia was, and actually Panama as well. So let's jump into it here. So for those of you that might not know, I was in Colombia for about 2 weeks, about a week and a half in Colombia, and then about 3 days in Panama City in Panama, which was so much fun. Honestly, I had such a blast on this trip. It was with a great group of people, a lot of strangers that became friends, and hopefully they'll be on this podcast soon too. I just did so many amazing things, and I was so happy being down there and doing all the things we were doing. It was just a great time, and I hope to have another one of those experiences soon. So let me start with how this trip came about. So as some of you might know, I'm trying to get to every continent on this planet. Before going to Colombia, I had been to 4 of the 7. And so I was supposed to go to Morocco last year, which would have gotten me the African continent. That didn't work out, unfortunately. So I thought I would try going to Colombia. And so that ended up working out. So Colombia is South America is my 5th continent. And Colombia is the country that got me that. So super excited for that. And now only 2 left. So hopefully I can get those last 2 here in the near future. But anyways, this trip came about because I took a trip to Italy in September of 2021 with a travel company called For the Love of Travel. And some of the people that were on that trip in Italy ended up doing this Colombia trip with the same company. And it looked like a ton of fun. And being wintertime where I'm from, I thought it would be a great time to get down to close to the equator and enjoy some warm weather and some place other than the cold, dreary place that I'm in right now. So I booked the Colombia trip a while back, and then it just happened a couple weeks ago, and it was a great time. I flew down to Bogota first. Bogota is the capital of Colombia, and I spent a day in Bogota by myself. I did a private tour, which was a ton of fun. I got to go up to, I believe it's Montserrat is how you pronounce it. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, so I apologize. But I went to Montserrat, and it's a hill overlooking the city of Bogota. Bogota is a massive city, I think about 8 or 9 million people. And it was a nice day when I was up there, so I got to see most of the city, which is a pretty incredible sight. And I'll post a picture on the Instagram page of that once this gets closer to airing. So I went there first, took a cable car up from the base, and I'll be honest, I was feeling the elevation a little bit while I was there. Bogota, I think, sits at about 8,600 feet of elevation, which is way more than I'm used to. I'm used to about 1,200 feet of elevation. And then taking the cable car up to the top of the mountain was, I think, another like 1,500 feet maybe. So I was around 10,000 feet, and I think around 10,000 feet you can really feel the elevation there. So that was kind of interesting. But I was up there. There's a church at the top, which I have mass at every week. So that's got to be a trek for some people to get to. And then the guide and I walked back down. I walked by one of Simón Bolívar's old compounds. Didn't get to tour it, unfortunately. But Simón Bolívar was kind of the liberator of Colombia and a number of other countries in South America. So it was interesting to learn some of the history there. And then we walked through an area called La Candelaria, which is kind of the artsy downtown area of Bogota. Lots of beautiful murals on the walls, on the buildings, and just so many colorful sights to see. And there's a lot going on there. We stopped at a kind of like indoor farmers market to have some juice, and the guide he brought me a basket of juice from this one stall, and he was telling me all the different fruits, their names, what they were like, that sort of thing. A lot of interesting fruit that we wouldn't see here in the U.S. They're unique to Colombia or other places around the world. So I tried some of those fruits, and then I got to have a smoothie of one of them. I believe it's called the guanabana. I'll have to double check on that. It's a big green fruit. It's got some spikes on it. It actually was quite good. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely have it again if I were to go back. But kind of an interesting taste. Not something that we'd ever have here in the U.S. So then after that, we walked through some more of the streets there. Lots of beautiful artwork. And we stopped at one place to try the indigenous drink of chicha, which is essentially fermented corn, I believe, or it's made out of corn at least. And the guide told me that it's got about 8% alcohol. So it was a nice drink. I enjoyed it. It was a good tasting drink. I could see why, the indigenous people like it. And I could see why they use it, for different reasons. So it was a good drink. I highly recommend anyone going to Colombia to try it because it is unique to that area and a couple other places in South America. And then we continued walking through the streets, looking at the pictures here to remind myself. We stopped at one cafe for some really great Colombian coffee. The Colombian coffee is amazing, and it's even better when you're drinking it in Colombia. And my guide was telling me that there was kind of an issue with Colombian coffee being exported to other parts of the world, like the U.S., because there's more money to be made by selling it abroad versus in the country. And so this cafe in particular was all about keeping the money and the coffee local. And so they locally sourced it from local farmers and kept everything local. So it was straight out of Colombia was that coffee. And I gotta tell you, it was pretty dang good. Some of the best coffee I've ever had. So we stopped there, had the coffee, and then continued walking through the streets. We walked down to the Botero Museum. Botero is a famous artist in Colombia, and he's still alive, I believe. He's known for his unique style of making people and objects kind of bloated or fat in a way. It's actually quite interesting, and I like the paintings. It's definitely unique. You don't see that. I haven't seen that from any other artists or any other art around the world other than from him. So I enjoyed the uniqueness of the experience. So we went through his museum, which is a lot of his paintings and sculptures, and there's a few other paintings from other painters. I know there's at least one Picasso in there. So it was great to see all of that art. And I can post some pictures of that as well. And then we walked down to the main plaza of Bogota, where all the government buildings are. There's a big cathedral on one part of it. There's, I believe it was the mayor's building on the other side, and then they had the Supreme Court building, and they had the Congressional building. And those made up the four sides of the plaza there. And the guy was telling me the history of politics in Colombia. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of issues over the years. And he told me about how Escobar and his crew came to the Supreme Court building when Escobar was supposed to be on trial for something, and they ended up murdering all the judges. So kind of a bloody history there, but fascinating nonetheless. And I got to go into the cathedral there, which was very beautiful and ornate. So I really enjoyed that as well. And then after that, we walked through some more of the city to the Museo del Oro, which is the gold museum. And gold is a big product of Colombia. A lot of the indigenous tribes used it for jewelry and ceremonial things, and just different kind of tools and stuff that they used. So I got to learn a little bit of the indigenous history of Colombia in that museum, as well as some of the history of the gold and other minerals in the country, and got to see some beautiful artifacts as well. I definitely recommend that museum to anyone in Bogota as well. And then that was essentially it for Bogota. I had to go to the airport to fly to Cartagena, which is the town where we started our tour, and it's up on the Caribbean coast of Colombia. And so I flew up there and essentially just kind of spent the night there. And then the next day, I went to the hotel where we were staying at as a group and checked in and all that stuff. And then I walked around with one of the people in the group to go exchange some money and get some lunch. We had a great lunch at this place called Carmen. I had some great tacos and a dessert, which I don't remember the name of, but it was very good. It's a fancier restaurant, but it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And with how cheap everything is in Colombia, it was definitely in the price range for pretty much everyone that wants to go visit that. And then we walked through some more of the streets of Cartagena on the way back to the hotel. We met up with some other people in the group at the rooftop bar and pool, and ended up chatting for a while with them. It was really nice throughout the trip. So we had a group of 10 plus trip leader, and all of us were very well traveled. I was probably 6th or 7th for amount of countries that I've been to out of the group. So people with a lot of experience were on the trip, and I think that made the trip so much more fun because we all had that experience. We all, kind of knew what we were doing, I guess, and just we're on the same page with things. So that was a lot of fun, and it was fun, swapping travel stories because we've been to some of the same places, and we've all been to different places from other people as well. So it was a good time. So then, we had nothing going on the rest of that day until the late afternoon when our trip officially started as a group. We met at the rooftop bar for drinks and introductions and all of that. Interesting thing while we were there the first couple of days is that it was the election for the Colombian Congress. And so Colombia has a dry law rule where they cannot sell alcohol. The election is on a Sunday, and so from 6 p.m. on Saturday through 6 a.m. on Monday, no place is legally allowed to sell alcohol. So that kind of changed our plans a little bit. I know our lives revolve around alcohol, but we got to have some drinks before we headed out to dinner. We had a nice dinner at this restaurant, which is, the name is escaping me now, but I had a great traditional Colombian dish of pork and rice and chicken all wrapped up in a banana leaf. It was good, and it was also way too much food for me, but I definitely recommend it as well. Let's see, and then the next day we did a walking tour of Cartagena. Our trip leader, Will, led us around. That's his home city, so he showed us around, took us to all the main attractions. We got to have some little baby beers, as we call them, costanitas, which were really good. It was really refreshing because the weather was very hot. It was like high 80s with about 100% humidity. So it was quite hot while we were there. So it's nice to have, a nice, cold, refreshing drink. But as we walked around the town, there's so much art there. There's so much color. It's very vibrant. We went down one street which had a bunch of umbrellas that were lining the street up above, which kind of helped provide shade and was very colorful. There's so many paintings, so many murals on the walls, on the buildings. I know there's one street that had all of the world flags lining the street. Just so much cool artwork, and of course, the beautiful flowers there as well. It's really quite, a beautiful sight to behold. So then we walked through the old town of Cartagena. There's a nice clock tower that kind of lines one wall of the city. And then once you go inside, you're in the old town. We walked through the various, plazas around the town. We went by one of the main churches. And let's see, what else? We saw some cool statues. And, fun fact, which I learned, is that every town in Colombia has to have a Simon Bolivar Plaza, since he was such a heroic figure for them. Every town has to have a plaza that's named after him. So I started noticing that after Will told us that. I started noticing that. So kind of interesting fact there. Let's see what else. Then we went to, there's a Spanish fort that overlooks the city. We went to that, and Will was sharing some of the history of it. It was really quite fascinating, all the different booby traps, like all the different illusions that the Spanish built into the fort to make it, harder for any invaders to actually be able to take over the fort from the Spanish. So pretty interesting stuff, actually. I really enjoyed learning that history. And you got a great view of Cartagena as well. So that was awesome as well. Let's see, after that, we drove to a little fisherman's village just outside of the city. And we had a fish lunch with some fried plantains and avocado salad and rice. I really enjoyed the meal. And, it's always nice having lunch on the beach, too. And afterwards, one of my favorite parts of the trip was we went to, it was like right next door to where we ate lunch. But we went to this cultural center, and I believe it's Tambores de Cabildo. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But it's a little cultural center hut where these locals have started this school to basically help kids, one, stay out of trouble, but two, kind of keep their African heritage. So there's a big African influence in that part of Colombia, at least. That people had come over as slaves or, were escaping, whatever, and settled there in Colombia, up on the Caribbean. And so to help kind of keep the history alive and keep the culture alive of the African heritage, these people had started this school of basically teaching kids the traditional dances and traditional music and that sort of thing. So that was a lot of fun. We got to, hear them play the various instruments and watch them perform some of the traditional dances. And then the really fun part was we got to learn some of the basic like drum beats as well. So we each had had an African drum, and we got to learn the various strokes and then different beats and play some of the songs. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that experience. I enjoyed learning a little bit about the culture, and I'm really excited to see that they're doing that, and I hope they have a lot of success in continuing that tradition for a lot of years to come. So after that, we went to this place where we got to have a mud bath. And I'll have to share some pictures of that as well. They're pretty funny. This kind of natural geothermic area that's had a lot of activity over the years has built up this sort of volcano like caldera that is just filled with mud. And it's a place where people go to kind of have some healing. The mud is good for your skin and that sort of thing. So we got to get in the mud, and there's some guys that kind of scrubbed us down and gave us massages, and then we hung out in the mud for a little bit. It's kind of a weird sensation because there really is no bottom. I mean, the bottom's way below the earth. The Earth's surface, and the mud is really thick, so it's hard to move. You're kind of stuck there a little bit. Pretty weird sensation, but it was a ton of fun. I know we were all laughing. I was covered head to toe in mud, so it was a lot of fun. And then afterwards, we right nearby is some water where you can go rinse off, and so we all went and rinsed off, and then headed back to Cartagena. Some of us went and had dinner, and actually a really good dinner with a beautiful view of the town. And we ended up walking through the town a little bit. There's a lot of beautiful lights, I think one of the people and I did some makeshift salsa in the street at one point, and then we walked back towards the hotel, and there's a plaza where there was some street performers and some street vendors and all of that. And we watched this one guy who was apparently called Shakiro, and he was a man that dressed up like Shakira. He had a big belly on him, and he basically lip synced and lip danced or lip sung and danced to Shakira songs. It was kudos to him for doing that. I don't know if I'd be that brave, but yeah, it was fun to watch for a little bit. All right, so now we're on to the next day, and let me pull the pictures back up here. So it was a beautiful morning. I went running early in the morning and saw a bunch of beautiful areas of Cartagena. There's some big hotels and skyscrapers on one part, which I ran to, but the water was beautiful, and really enjoyed the runs there. I will say it was very hot even early in the morning, and even just a short distance. I think I ran about 3.5 miles, and I was soaked in sweat. It was definitely hot and humid. But today was a really fun day. This day was a super fun day. We went out on the boat and out into some islands in the Caribbean water, and we just hung out on the boat for most of the day. We played in the water. The water was so clear and warm. It was awesome. Did some drinking out there as well, and just a ton of fun. We had a nice lunch at one of the hotels or resorts out there on one of the islands, and then we went to a beach club for the second part of the day and hung out there. There was a ton of people there. It's definitely a party spot, but it was a fun time. I think we all enjoyed spending time there. But then the water was getting rough, the wind was picking up, and the Coast Guard told us to get out of there. And so we left and had one of the worst boat experiences of my life. It was about a 45-minute boat ride back to the dock, and the water was very choppy, some of the choppiest water that I've been in, and had to go to the bathroom too, so that didn't help. That was a rough ride, but we made it back. Everyone was fine, and it was a good day. It was a good day. Then we had an amazing dinner at this place called Alma. The chicken that I had was just fantastic. Some of the best chicken I've ever had. Definitely recommend that place. Although one of the recurring themes of Colombia is that things run very slowly. So our meal, which was not in the U.S. probably would have been maybe an hour, was about 3.5 hours, just because they were slow with everything. Everything was slow, which that was kind of an interesting difference. I always like seeing the differences in food culture around the world. In the U.S., we've gone with productivity over everything else. And so, we're all about the fast food, fast service, get in, get out, be quick about it because we got to be productive. But in a lot of places around the world, including Colombia, each meal is so much more of an event. That is sometimes the event of the day. And so, it's a lot slower. It's a lot more take your time. The food is a lot better prepared. I also love all the natural ingredients with the food versus here in the U.S. The stuff we eat is barely food a lot of the times. But anyways, it was a great dinner. Had a great time, and then we went to a rooftop bar and hung out there for a little bit, just enjoyed the evening. I think that was pretty much it that day. The next day I got up early and ran again. I ran through a lot of the city, saw some cool statues, definitely sweated a lot with the sun. We kind of had a free day to explore. So I walked through the town, ended up meeting up with some of the people. We walked around for a bit together, got some souvenirs, and let's see what else. Yeah, I got some souvenirs, had some good food, took a lot of pictures of the various, colorful buildings and beautiful sights around the town. Went into a couple of the churches, which I can post all these pictures. Had some good coffee again. Had some great desserts at this one location. And let's see what else. And then that evening was one of the highlights of the trip for me. We started the night with a salsa class. So we went to a bar, and an instructor came and gave us a salsa lesson, which was a ton of fun. I love dancing, to be honest, and I took ballroom in college, and salsa was part of that class. It was only a small part of it from what I remember. So I don't really remember salsa that well, but it was fun to kind of learn it again and learn some basic moves, and hopefully get to use it more often now. But that was a ton of fun. And then we went to a nice place for basically appetizers or tapas at a place called Demente. I really enjoyed the food there. Would definitely go back there as well. And then we went to this place, I believe it's called Arsenal, or the Rum Box, and we did a rum tasting. So Colombia, being on the Caribbean, rum is a big part of their culture. So they make a lot of rum there. And I didn't realize how much rum we were going to be tasting. I think we had 8 different rums, but the guy was really great. He walked us through each of them. The presentation was fantastic, and really got a much better understanding of rum and the rum culture in Colombia. And I think we all enjoyed that night. We all had probably a little bit too much to drink that night, but it was a ton of fun. Afterwards, some of us went to a high-end bar there in Cartagena, and just kind of hung out for a little bit. There was some good music going, and just kind of enjoyed the night. And that was pretty much it that night. The next day, we didn't have anything going on. We were heading out to Medellin for the second part of the trip. I went running in the morning, and again, beautiful sights. Just a perfect day. The water was amazing to see, and so just really enjoyed the run there. And then we all just kind of got packed up, and we went to the airport and flew to Medellin, which Medellin is a town in kind of the center of Colombia, up in the mountains. And we got checked into our hotel there. And the big event that day was we went to a Michelin star restaurant called El Cielo, and we had a 22-course meal experience, which I know that sounds really crazy, but you're only getting 1 or 2 bites per meal or per course. Quite the interesting array of courses. I couldn't tell you pretty much any of them. All sorts of ingredients and just really over the top. I enjoyed most of them. Most of them were really good. Some of them I didn't enjoy so much, but quite the experience for sure. That's an experience I've never had before, so it was a ton of fun. I think we had a good time there, and really enjoyed a lot of different foods there. So definitely recommend it as an experience for people. And then that was pretty much it that day. Next day was a ton of fun. We did a lot of things. The second day there in Medellin, we started the day by going to Comuna 13, which is one of the neighborhoods of Medellin. Which Medellin it's one of the or it used to be the most dangerous city in the world. Just about 20 years ago, and Comuna 13 was basically the most dangerous neighborhood in the world not too long ago, with all the cartels and everything going on there. But now that area is a really vibrant area. It's got a lot of art and culture and hip hop and all sorts of stuff going on. It's quite the place to see now, for sure. We had a great guide show us around, tell us the history of it, tell us how it's kind of recovered from its violent and turbulent past. And yeah, we got to experience a lot. I really enjoyed all the artwork, all the graffiti there. Tons of graffiti, just beautiful murals on the walls of some of the buildings. And we got to see a kind of an impromptu concert. There were some guys performing doing some rapping, which was a ton of fun, even though I didn't understand any of it, being in Spanish. But it was fun to see nonetheless. And we got to cap off that part of the trip by going to like the headquarters of where the guide works out of, and it's basically a cultural center for kids, just to kind of teach them, kind of art and that sort of thing, and also keep them out of trouble as well. But since graffiti is a big part of that area, we got to graffiti a wall with our names, and so I got some pictures of me graffitiing my name onto the wall, which was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that experience. So then let's see, we had that, and then we went on a gondola or cable car. Medellin is very hilly. It is definitely not meant for. It's definitely not a lot of flat ground there, and a lot of the buildings and houses are built onto the hill. And so as part of their public transportation system, they have cable cars that go up and down the hills. And so we got to go up one of those and see the city from above, which was incredible. You just see it sprawling out all over the valley. And then after that, we went to a really nice food court where they had all sorts of different foods. There's probably 25 or 30 different restaurants in there. And we had lunch. And then one of my favorite parts of the trip was we went to a coffee farm just outside of the city and got to learn all about how coffee actually makes it to our cup in the mornings, which is quite the process. Yeah, there was a lot more to it than I expected. Coffee's a lot more fickle than I thought to produce. But in Colombia, it's some of the best coffee in the world, if not the best coffee in the world. And it was amazing to learn the whole process there, which I won't try to get into it because it's too hard to explain and I don't fully understand it. But I really enjoyed trying the coffee and getting to experiencing or learn the history. And I got a couple bags that I bought from that place that I'm currently drinking, and really enjoying the coffee. It's some of the best coffee I've had. Let's see. After that, we went back to the hotel and rested for a little bit, and then some of us went to a restaurant for dinner, and I had some amazing chicken there as well. And that was pretty much it that day, I believe. And then the next day we went up into the hills outside of Medellin. We stopped at a lake, which I should remember what the lake is. I'm going to look it up right now. It is, Embalse de Peñol. Yeah, I'm sure I'm butchering that. But anyways, big lake outside of Medellin. It's the area where Pablo Escobar's house was, or his compound. And so we got to go out on the boat and go by Pablo Escobar's old house. It's run down now because it was bombed back in the day. But you can see all around the lake, there's a lot of nice houses all around. And we learned that it's essentially all the who's who in Colombia have houses up there, which makes sense. It's a beautiful area. But that lake only came about because they, can't remember exactly why, but they needed to build a dam, and they flooded over the town that was there originally. And so there's actually, if one were to dive down, there's actually still the buildings of the town still there. And there's a cross kind of out in the middle that marks where the church was. And apparently I believe every Christmas or every January 6th, they have mass out there, out on the middle of the lake. So it was kind of interesting there as well. And after that, we went to this big rock that is called, I think it's Piedra de Peñol. Yeah, Piedra el Peñol, del Peñol. And it's, you can go to the top of the rock, up these steep, narrow stairs, which, being at a high elevation, you're already at like 7,000 feet or close to it. And trying to go up those stairs, you definitely feel the elevation. Me and one of the people on the trip tried to race up there. There's too many people, so it didn't really work out all right. Although, not going to mention her name, but if you're listening, just know that I got first place, and that's all that matters. But from the top of the rock there, you can see so much. It's such a beautiful view. You can see down to the part of the lake. You can see, out into the other hills. And it's just a beautiful sight. I love being able to have those, those incredible viewpoints. So that was a ton of fun. And then we went to a town called Guatape, which is a small town not too far away, and we had lunch. I had like a traditional pork lunch, had beans, fried plantain, rice, avocado salad, all that good stuff. So good, such good food. I really enjoyed it. And then we toured the town of Guatape, which is known for, and I don't remember the name of what they're called. I apologize, but essentially the baseboards of each building, they're known for just the colorful and artistic kind of baseboards there, which are meant to essentially keep things out, keep water from getting into the buildings and that sort of thing. But such a colorful area, or such a colorful town. Some of those baseboards were just incredible to see. I mean, way over the top, to be honest. People put a lot of time and effort into them. So it was amazing walking around that town. I know I stopped for some coffee, and just kind of walked around and enjoyed the really colorful city that it is. They have a really beautiful church there as well. And then we made the long drive back to Medellin, and let's see. Well, think we had anything crazy going on. Yeah, we had dinner at a nice restaurant there, and then we went out to some of the bars, which was a ton of fun. All of us went out together, so it was fun hanging with the group. I think we all had a fun time that night as well. We went to some cool bars. Let's see what else. Yeah, lots of great pictures. And the next day I ran around the streets, if you can call it running. I ran around the streets of Medellin, although it was a lot of dodging potholes and avoiding people and trying to get up and down the different hills of the city. It was honestly quite a struggle. And then, spent the rest of the day just hanging out at the beautiful rooftop pool at our hotel. Had some amazing fish tacos. I ended up having those again the next day too. And just kind of chilled for a bit. I also booked a last-minute trip to Panama that day. I didn't really feel like coming home. I didn't want to go home. I kind of wanted to extend my trip, and my goal is to get to every country on Earth. And so I was like, I'm close, or I'm already down here. Might as well try to find a place I can go to for a couple days. Panama City was cheap and easy to get to. It's kind of on the way back home anyways. And so I booked a trip there, which I'll talk about in a second. But kind of booked it last minute, about 2 days before I went, before I actually flew there. And then that night we had our farewell dinner. Went to a really nice restaurant, and we all got dressed up and had some great food. And then kind of said our goodbyes to the people that were leaving early in the morning. And that was pretty much it. And then the next day, some of us were still there. I had all day there. So I went with one of the other people in the group, and we went to this museum which talked about the kind of violent history of Colombia and how it's changing now. And that was a nice museum. Most of it was in Spanish, so I didn't get probably as much as I wanted to out of it, but nonetheless, kind of got the gist of it, I guess. And we went to the botanical gardens, which was great to see as well. Got to see a Komodo dragon, so that was pretty cool. Those are some weird-looking creatures, for sure. And then the rest of the day, that was pretty chill. I had to do some work, so it wasn't very exciting. And that was pretty much it that day. So then, the next morning I flew to Panama, and it was, again, beautiful day flying up to Panama. From the plane, I could see, down into the water and see the islands really clearly off the coast of Panama. Just beautiful, beautiful sights. And got to my hostel there in Panama City, and had a really great lunch, and just kind of walked around the old town. Really beautiful church, beautiful view of the rest of the city from the old town. And a lot of beautiful flowers. Just a lot of pretty sights. The buildings were colorful. Lots of statues. And a lot of beautiful stuff there, which you can see in the pictures. And let's see, what else? I had to work for a little bit that day, so I didn't get to do a ton. And then that evening, someone that we had met that wasn't in our group, but we had met, who was from the U.S., actually ended up going to Panama too, unrelated. And so we got dinner and kind of walked around the old town at night, which is cool to see all the old buildings lit up at night. One building was lit up in the Panamanian flag colors. So that was fun to see, and it's beautiful to see the city at night as well. It's kind of interesting how there's the old town where I was at, which is, a lot of old buildings, 1 or 2 stories, and then you look across kind of the Half Moon Bay there, and there's just a wall of skyscrapers of kind of the new Panama City. And then the next day, I went to the Panama Canal, which was amazing. That was definitely a bucket list item for me to see that. Quite the engineering feat. I mean, my goodness, that took a lot of work to build, and it's quite the thing to see and experience. And after that, I went to the museum about it. They talked about the history of it, and it's quite the interesting history of it. I definitely recommend people checking it out if they're ever there, or just kind of learning some of the history about it, because it is quite interesting, and huge American influence with it as well. Then after that, I ended up going for a long run. I think it was about 8 miles. There's a really great kind of like promenade walkway along the edge of the city, with just beautiful views of the city, and different parks and stuff like that. And so I ran along that, and there's a spot where they have a colorful sign that says Panama, so I stopped and took some pictures there. And then I ran around the old town. Is this kind of sort of a wall, but it's also a road that people can drive on, and there's also a bike path and a running path or a walking path. And I ran all the way around that as well, and got some more beautiful views of the city. And then that was pretty much it that day. I was sad because I had to head home after that, unfortunately. So I took a COVID test and make sure I could get back to the country. And then very early the next morning, I think I got up at about 2:45 a.m., but got on the plane from Panama City to Miami, and it was about a 3-hour flight. Beautiful day over the Caribbean. I got some great pictures of like central Cuba, beautiful view of Cuba, fantastic view of the Florida Keys. You can see how long the bridges are between those keys. Got a great view of the Everglades, and then finally landing in Miami. And then hung out there for a little bit, flew to Houston, spent the night in Houston, and eventually made it back to Yakima the next day. And that was pretty much it. So honestly, it was so much fun. This little bit of explaining the trip doesn't do it justice. I had so many great moments on the trip, met so many amazing people, people that I hope, we can stay in touch for many years to come, and hopefully they'll be on this podcast as well. I'm going to make the push for them to do that. And I really learned a lot about myself. I feel like I really grew as a person. I know I came back with more confidence in myself. While I was there, my travel dreams, I guess, started becoming more and more of a reality, because I'm not sure how much I can share, but my dream of becoming a published author is definitely becoming closer, and this podcast really picked up as well. And so a lot of exciting stuff happening on the travel front there. So really, really thankful for all those experiences, all the people, and just, all the opportunities I've had to travel and experience the world. And I really hope that everyone gets to experience, those things as well. I really believe that traveling is the best educator for us. It shows us so many different things. It takes us out of our comfort zone. And it's just an experience unlike any other. And I hope this episode and all the other episodes inspire you to get out there and explore the world. So thank you all for taking the time to listen, and hopefully we'll have some more exciting stories to share soon. So for now, bye everyone. Hey everybody, Kyle here. If you enjoyed today's show and want more, you can always check out every episode on Spotify and Anchor. And now you can also listen on YouTube. Links are in the description below. If you want to see my travel pictures as well as travel pictures from guests on the show, you can check them out on Instagram. The page is called Our Travel Experiences Podcast. And if you want to share your own pictures on the Instagram page and or be a guest on the podcast, you can message me via that Instagram page or email me at ourtravelexperiences@outlook.com. I would love to see your pictures and hear about your travel experiences. And if that isn't enough for you, make sure to check out my new show, From Around the World Fridays. Every Friday, I'm taking 5 to 10 minutes to discuss one specific travel topic, whether that be questions I get from listeners, sharing some souvenirs that I've bought over the years, or discussing one particular city or country that I've been to, and so much more. You'll be able to listen to that via Spotify and Anchor as well, and be able to see the video version, which I'm really excited about, on YouTube. So check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. And thanks again for listening, and I will see you around the world soon.